Hey, Bastish B for 64K and welcome to another episode of Top 10s. Whoa.
Welcome to 64K, hosted by Bastish B.
And welcome back. So today's episode is going to be my personal favorite top 10 Commodore 64 multi-event sports games. So I've covered a few of these before in one of my Let's Player series. Episode 1 and 2 has covered a whole bunch of Epix games. So this top 10 though is going to be much more diverse. There's going to be a few Epix classics. I know you're probably thinking this is going to be 10 Epix games. It's not. It's going to have a few Epix classics that I feel are absolute necessities to play in the genre, and then the rest are going to be a whole bunch of wild cards or games that I think never really got as much attention as they deserve, and some real gems in there. But before we do that, we've got to look at controllers. Controllers are going to make a big difference in how you play these games. So the reason I say that is because if you're playing this on original Commodore 64, you're probably using a controller like this, very similar, some sort of joystick. These games require a lot of back and forth motions, up and down, left and right, circle movements. So if you're playing with this, you're going to be good on an original C64. If you're playing this on a C64 Mini, you're probably going to be using the default controller. This is fine for multi-event sports games. If there's any genre of gaming that is going to destroy this controller, then this is it. Multi-event sports games are going to kill it. These things are pretty, they're not very sturdy, so you might want to think about that before you go crazy on these games. But if you're using through a VAS emulator, or maybe even using one of these, like this kind of D-pad controller on your C64 Mini, or even like a VAS emulator, using the D-pad to go left and right or up and down or circles, it doesn't work properly with these games. They require extreme speed, so you really got to think about if you can try and get yourself some sort of controller, some sort of joystick action. Otherwise it's going to be very, very difficult to play these games. And one more quick note before we start. Before I reveal the number one position, I'll always show a bunch of honorable mention games, so if you don't see your favorites, they're probably going to be in that. So without further ado, let's cue that countdown. Summer Olympiad was an attempt by Timesoft in 1988 to steal Epix's crown and challenge the old tradition of the Summer Olympic Games, and I think they did a pretty good job in this completely forgotten game in the genre. You have 5 events to choose from: skeet shooting, hurdles, fencing, triple jump, and diving. And just like in Summer Games 2, the fencing is the event you want to skip. It's just plain boring and tedious. Can anybody get a fencing sequence right in video games? I haven't seen one yet. Everything else though, presentation and gameplay wise, is really good. And I like the big bold graphics, and the music is actually quite catchy. If you're looking for good alternatives to Summer Games 1 and 2, which you've probably played to death, then look no further. It's a good solid entry.
Number 9.
Fiends Big Topper Fun came out in 1990 from Mindscape, created by Chris Gray, who gave us some real C64 classics like Boulder Dash and Infiltrator. This multi-event game was set in a circus and also features a story where you have to raise cash from each event to stop the circus from being shut down. There are 6 events, namely diving, juggling, trapeze, knife throwing, tightrope, and human cannonball. The events are fun and quite funny, and the graphics are excellent throughout, with fun, funky circus music and a crazy clown, aka Fiendish Freddy, trying to sabotage your every performance, and you got a great and unique take on the multi-event genre.
Number 8.
1985's Harper Sports is the first of 2 arcade conversions based on Konami arcade games, and this one was ported by Imagine to the C64. This is a traditional event-based sports game like Summer Game, except points have to be achieved to reach the next event or else it's game over. There are 6 events to partake in, including 100-meter freestyle swimming, skeet shooting, gymnastics, archery, triple jump, and weightlifting. All the events are pretty fun, but you're gonna fail a lot until you get the hang of it. It's a pretty tough little game. Martin Galway makes his first appearance on this list with his Chariots of Fire style entitled title screen music, which is damn excellent, and the graphics are very well done, small and extremely detailed. Way too many hours of my life were lost to this little gem, whether it was in the arcade or this excellent C64 port. World Games by Epix is an excellent gathering of strange and unique sporting events from around the world for its great lineup of 8 events. You got weightlifting from Russia, barrel jumping from Germany, cliff diving from Mexico, slalom skiing from France, log rolling from Canada, bull riding from the USA, caber toss from Scotland, and sumo wrestling from Japan. Graphically, this is the most varied game on the list, and each event almost feels like its own game with really high attention to detail being put onto every discipline. I really like the loading screens that give you real info about the sport on hand, and the music and sound effects do a good job adding to the atmosphere. Besides the slalom skiing, which I'm not a big fan of, all the other events are pretty unique and fun, and are quite easy to get into. This is just an excellent overall experience that lends itself quite well as a companion piece to California games.
Number 6.
1987's Combat School or Boot Camp in the US was based on a Konami arcade game and released by Ocean. It's kinda like their track and field series except with military training exercises. There are 7 major disciplines plus 1 bonus mission. They are Obstacle Course, Shooting Gallery, Iron Man Race, Shooting Gallery 2, Arm Wrestling, Shooting Gallery 3, Close Quarters Combat, and the bonus mission, which is rescue civilians who have been taken hostage. This is definitely one of the games that is going to snap your joystick, so fair warning. The event styles and the gameplay switches are pulled off real well in this game. Music by Martin Galway is excellent, especially that opening tune with its hard thumping beats. The graphics overall are really good and detailed and retain that look from the arcade. This is a fun but pretty tough addition to the multi-event list and is still a pretty good play even now.
Number 5.
California Games was released in 1987, somewhere in the middle of Epix's whole game series, and you can tell they had their winning formula down pat at this point. This time we got 6 extreme sports to try out, from half-pipe, roller skating, surfing, BMX, footbag, and flying disc. There's not honestly a single event that I despise in this one, just all straight up fun in my opinion. Although it can be said that you're gonna need a lot of practice on certain events, especially the BMX and the half-pipe, because they have some really tricky controls, but once you understand the mechanic, you'll be on your way. As far as epic sports games go, this has the best music, from that great opening title track to the excellent surf guitar track in the surfing event. It's really very cool. Top-notch graphics that are colorful and well animated as usual, and you have a total winner in California Games.
Number 4.
Skate or Die was an amazing game when it first loaded up, as you get blasted by this guitar madness that is Rob Hubbard's title track for the game, and from that point on, you know you're in good hands. Visit the Rodney Dangerfield dude and get pimped out for the 5 skate events, which are freestyle, high jump, downhill, jam, and pool joust. Every event is an absolute jam. With a little bit of practice, you'll be having a ball in no time. Jam and pool joust being my favorites. Top quality graphics by Electronic Arts, and just an all-round excellent skateboarding game, as well as a multi-event classic. There was a sequel on the C64 called Ski or Die. It's not as good, but still worth a look if you like this one. And the NES had the official sequel, which is a really weird, dodgy side-scrolling game at best.
Number 3.
Summer Games was Epix's original multi-event game, and they weren't taking any prisoners with this one. 8 fantastic events were on display, including pole vault, platform diving, 4x400 meter relay, 100 meter dash, gymnastics, freestyle relay, 100 meter freestyle, and skeet shooting. It's a really excellent diverse mix of gameplay styles, packed into one very neat and well-produced package. The graphics were all well above anything else in 1984, and the sheer variety and animation was absolutely amazing at the time. All the events are pretty good, except the 2 swimming ones, which are a bit tedious, but don't bring the game down too much. Sound is a bit sparse, with a few appropriate sound effects and decent opening, closing, and national anthem music here and there. It still plays pretty well, and is a great game still to this day.
Number 2.
1988's Caveman Olympics by Dynamics is one of the most polished multi-event games on this list. It's a Caveman Olympic game, being a parody of all those epic style classics, and it's a damn funny and highly enjoyable game. You have 6 crazy events to choose from, including Mate Toss, Saber-Tooth Tiger Race, Fire Making, Clubbing, Dino Race, and Dino Vault. Each one of them is an absolute ride to play, especially in the 2-player mode, where you'll be laughing more than playing. Graphics and detail in this one are amazing, and you can tell Dynamics pushed the C64's abilities here with every event. Music and sound effects are also really well done, capturing the clinks and roars of Caveman Laugh, a must-play on the list. So before I reveal the number 1 game, let's check out 5 other honorable mentions that are well worth playing as well. Okay, so first up here is a game called Run the Gauntlet. It's kind of a little bit different than all the other games on this list. This is a vehicle-based multi-event sport game. You're driving like boats and quad bikes and a whole bunch of other things. I never really hear anybody talk about this game. It's really fun in multiplayer mode. It was released by Ocean. The game kind of reminds me of one of those Codemasters simulation games, but in the best sense. Definitely worth checking out. Next up we got Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show. This is kind of like Fiendish Freddy, but it's set in the Old West. It's like a whole lot of like circus tricks, you know, like things that were done during that time, during the Buffalo Bill show, the real ones. You got events like trick shooting, cattle rustling, knife throwing, all crazy kind of Western related activities. It's made by Tynesoft and it's got some really nice graphics. And I mentioned this one a little bit earlier. It's a Ski or Die, the sequel to Skate or Die. It came out in 1990 by Electronic Arts. It's not quite as good as Skate or Die, but if you really like that game, you're gonna find a lot of enjoyment here. It's got a bunch of fun events like snowboarding, skiing, snowball fights, and a whole bunch of other stuff. If you like Skate or Die, you're probably gonna enjoy it. And over here we got the Games Summer Edition. This is kind of like an updated sequels to the original Epyx's Summer Games 1 and 2. These came out in 1988. This is the Summer Edition. I'm going to show the other one as well. They are very overlooked games. I never hear anybody talking about them. I don't know why. They're done really well. Excellent graphics and gameplay as always by Epyx. Definitely worth checking out if you like the whole Olympic summer kind of vibe. And here's its companion piece, the game's Winter Edition, also came out in 1988 by Epyx. This is also like a kind of an updated version of Winter Games. It's very cool. It's not quite as good as Winter Games, but it does a really good job. It's got a whole bunch of weird events like this one, a skeleton, and a whole bunch of others. It covers familiar ground. It's got really nice graphics. Definitely, again, worth checking out. Nobody really mentions these ever as well. I don't know why. Good games. Okay, I'm gonna stop it right now. No more honorable mentions. I could go on and on. The genre is massive on the C64. I didn't even mention like pub games, Aussie games, alternate world games, Western games, Bad Cats. There's just like so many good ones that are worth checking out. But let's move on over now to my number 1 game.
And number 1 is...
And here it is, my favorite multi-event sports game on the C64. Winter Games. Even before making this video, I imagined this as my number 1, but I wanted to keep an open mind and replay everything you've seen on this list and much more that didn't make the cut, but this still trumps them all. We have 7 events here on display with hot dog, biathlon, figure skating, ski jump, speed skating, free skating, and bobsled. And even though the 2 figure skating events are awful, I still love this game overall. Hot dog, biathlon, and bobsled are truly excellent and so much fun to play, coupled with the excellent graphics and animation that Epyx were known for, and you have a really stunning looking game. Sound is also great, especially the sound effects, like in the biathlon when you have to use your heartbeat sound to get into the rhythm of the controls, or the wind sounds in the ski jump or bobsleigh. It's so atmospheric. Most of the gameplay also doesn't involve joystick waggling, just timing and rhythm, which is a nice change in this type of game. Overall though, definitely a must-play game in the genre on the C64. So overall, I really used to love this genre. It was such an important part of my gaming as a kid. You could bring your friends over. It was like a big multi-event kind of, it's kind of like online gaming, but in the 80s, where you were sitting next to people and just having a whole lot of fun. These games always came out, so they got a lot of play. I think the types of multi-event sports games, although they called that, not all of them are traditional sports. They're kind of crazy things, kind of like what they've become now, even though the genre pretty much died out in the 90s, have continued on in the Mario Party series and stuff like that. Even though it's not traditional sports, it's still continued on as some sort of mutation of that. Even the Commodore and the 8 and 16-bit games at the time had a lot of variations of this kind of genre with like weird subject matter, which was pretty interesting. I know that Epix pretty much dominated this genre on the 8-bit market, at least on the 8-bit computer market. They were the kings. They definitely stood out a lot more than the rest of them. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of great ones to check out like you've seen in the top 10. Thanks for joining me, Backstash B at 64K. I hope you had a good time. If you can like and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll see you next time. Cut to credits.